thank you so much for coming to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Apologies for my dog who
I
is
love
literally going
him.
to pester you for the whole interview now.
So cute. I'm happy to have the attention.
He always likes to make a guest appearance on the podcast.
Good. He should. He's so cute.
How has your day been today?
Good. I literally just got here from Chicago.
Oh, really? You landed today?
Yeah, I landed at 9 o'clock and then just went to the BBC to do some bits there.
Straight in.
Now I'm here. Yeah.
Straight in. Do you feel tired? Are you feeling good?
Oh, I'm so knackered.
Are you?
I'm like deliriously tired right now.
And hungry.
And hungry.
But you're having a dishoom after.
I'm having a dishoom.
Oh
so
my
yeah.
God, I'm so jealous.
A dishoom and then bed.
That is so good. It's one of my favorites.
It's just like always my go-to when I land here. It makes me feel really cozy.
So do you live in Chicago?
I do. Yeah.
You do, but you do spend a lot of time over here.
Yeah. I'm over here quite a lot. Probably like every other month I'm here.
Oh wow! So like half of you probably spend over here.
Yeah.
And you said you've been like traveling a lot of Europe this summer as well, right?
Yeah. I've been all over the place this summer. I feel like I've been in Europe probably like half the summer.
Disco, stop, please. We're trying to do a podcast.
He says I want pets.
Go and sit with Lydia.
That's okay. I'll give him a scratch.
Okay. So you've been around Europe all summer.
Yeah. For most of the summer, it feels like.
What's been your highlight?
Oh gosh, honestly, I did sort of a longer trip to Majorca this summer, and it was really one of my only like holidays I've had this year, and it was so nice. I haven't really spent any time in Majorca, and it was just stunning.
Mallorca is gorgeous.
It really is. I really had no expectations, and it was so beautiful. The water, like swimming in the water in Majorca, was honestly one of the most beautiful places I've been.
It is so nice. Have you ever been to Menorca before?
No, but I've heard great things about Menorca.
I went there for the first time this year as well, and like the water, it's like Mallorca as well, just like crystal clear.
I've never seen such like beautiful clear blue water in my life.
Yeah.
Like,
it's so nice. And we think we have to go so far to see these places. And actually it's like there.
It's like the Maldives. You're always like, oh, I need to go to the Maldives
Yeah.
so I can see this water. But no, you don't.
You can find it.
Yeah.
You can find it. So on this podcast, we kind of start from the very top, from the beginning of people's careers.
Okay.
So my first question for you is, where did your love for music come from? Like, where did this all begin?
I honestly think it came from like my parents and my family. Both of my parents have always been really, really into music, and my dad's whole side of the family has been really into music. So I kind of just grew up listening to music like 24/7. Like my dad would always have music playing like in the surround sound in our house, like cleaning the house on a Sunday, or like just all the time. And like so many of my like best memories growing up were just listening to music with my parents or going to concerts with my parents. So
Like any specific genre?
so my dad was really into classic rock and like Lynyrd Skynyrd, The Police, like Radiohead, all that. And then my mom was super, super into like Eurodance, into like synth pop, and like
Wow.
yeah, so they listened to really different music, and I loved all of it, and I would kind of get like this half and half experience of the stuff my parents listened to.
That's a nice mix, actually.
Yeah,
That's
it's
lovely.
fun.
Yeah. What was the first ever concert you went to?
I think the first ever concert I went to was Rage Against the Machine
Okay.
with my mom and my brother, I think. And I was like very young, probably like 15 or something.
And did you at that point think that you wanted to make a career in music?
No way. Like it wasn't really even something I like thought was an option. I played instruments growing up, and I like was in band in school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but for me it was always just like a hobby. Like music was a hobby, but I didn't think it was anything I'd ever do for work. My dad was such a like, you go to school, you get like a very normal job kind of person. So there was no like, yeah, you can be a musician.
Yeah. So what did you do? You went to school, and then what did you start doing?
I went to school, and then I got a job doing marketing for a really big real estate company in Chicago. sort of like immediately after graduating, I just kind of got put in touch with this person who hired me, and I was like, I don't know if this is what I want to do, but it's a job.
Yeah.
So I took it, and then it was sort of like during COVID, and then I picked up DJing as a hobby like during that time. And then when COVID happened, like my job stopped being a thing.
Yeah.
So I had to sort of reassess what I wanted to do coming out of COVID. And at that point, like music had become like much more important to me and something that I really, really enjoyed. And I just kind of like started DJing outside of COVID, and everything took off from there.
So during COVID, during that time, were you just like doing mixes at home, streams and stuff like that? And then when you came out, then you started gigging?
Yeah. So, well, I started this during COVID, I sort of was spending time with friends. We would just like do sort of like lock-ins at our houses and kind of just like quiet time to really talk to your friends, which I feel like we don't get that often.
So true.
And so many of my girlfriends, we were just talking about how much we missed going out to clubs, and so many of my girlfriends were like, we don't go out to clubs. We stopped going out to clubs because it's like not comfortable and we don't have fun because there's just like creepy guys, and it just sounded like the clubs. And I didn't even realize this was happening because I like didn't notice it myself, but the clubs in Chicago where I'm from had just become like really, really male dominated spaces, and like women stopped, like my female friends stopped feeling comfortable like going out because like the crowds were just giving them the ick.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I need a job. I need something to do. Maybe I can like create this new night in Chicago that's like a bit more female friendly. And so I came up with this thing called Dirty Disco, and I started pitching it to clubs around the city. And one of the clubs like was on board to start letting me do streams, like Dirty Disco branded streams during COVID. So we started with just doing streams from like someone's rooftop, and kind of built this world that was just like a inclusive space, like a space for women to get, just to get women involved. And then straight out of COVID, we threw our first event at this club, and just like encourage girls to get dressed up and come out and like feel comfortable. And I think just by doing that, it like started something really special and new in the city. And we continued doing parties for a while with Dirty Disco. And that's how DJing started for me too.
Wow, that's super interesting. How did creating Dirty Disco, how has that influenced like what the scene in Chicago is like now?
I think post-COVID, I was like one of the collectives, like a person who started doing something different in the city, sort of an immersive experience outside of just like the typical club nights thrown by the same promoters. It was just a different perspective. And I think that encouraged other people to also start throwing parties, like smaller collectives. And I think it's really sort of changed the landscape in Chicago, whereas now there are like 5 or 6 really small promoters that are throwing really curated parties with like a bit more intention than just
a party,
a club booking artist doing the circuits,
that must be something you feel really proud of.
Yeah, I am super proud of it. It was like, I felt like at the time it really, a lot of people come up to me and say like Dirty Disco was what really got me out and got me into dance music and got me like, dipped my toes into the scene. And now like things have changed so much in the last 4 years, and it's nice to hear that from people.
Yeah, definitely. So your first gigs were with Dirty Disco as well?
Yeah, so I just started like opening my party. I had no intention of being a DJ like full time or touring or anything like that.
Surprise.
Yeah, I was just like opening the room at my party and just sort of getting things started and doing it for fun and playing back to back with my friends. And I was like making music at home for fun at the same time. Well, all throughout COVID, just because I had nothing to do. And so that's like what my husband and I did at home. We would just sit in our home studio and work on music all day, every day. And so it was just kind of like a perfect storm, I guess. Like, everything had been going on behind the scenes for a few years, and then I started the party, and it just kind of took off from there.
And it all just kind of felt really natural.
Yeah, it felt super natural. And like, getting my first song signed was something that I wasn't expecting either. I didn't really plan on releasing music. And then when that happened, it just like, it's been a blur. Like since from that point forward, it's just everything's.
Yeah, because you've just been non-stop since then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you know what I absolutely love about these stories though is like how life can just make such a beautiful turn in like when it's so least expected.
It's so true.
You know, like so many people think, oh, this is what my life is going to be like. I'm going to like plan my life to do this, to do that, and this is my timeline. And then just out of the nowhere, just everything can change.
Like a switch flips.
Yeah.
And like everything's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's weird because after that happens, like every once in a while when I have a minute to like stop and reflect, I'm like, maybe this is what was always meant to be. Like, because it feels so much better than anything else I've ever done in my life. And I feel so much more fulfilled. So then it's like, maybe COVID was meant to happen. Maybe like, you know?
That was my next question actually. Like, how do you feel in yourself from like what your life was before, not what your life was before, but career-wise, what it was like before to compared to what it is now, knowing that it wasn't something that you specifically really planned, but something that's just happened. Like, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I like always kind of, I know no one wants to say that like COVID was a good thing because obviously COVID wasn't a good thing. But for me in my life, like that, it forced me to stop and reevaluate like everything. And I'm like really thankful to have come out of it doing this now because I feel like this is what I'm meant to be doing. So
how have you found the transition from, obviously you weren't touring and having the heavy schedule that you have now, and in such a short period of time you're doing so much? How have you found that transition? Okay.
It's an ever evolving emotion. It's been difficult for sure. I have always been a homebody. Like,
right.
I really I'm like a creature comforts person, and I have pets at home. I really love being home. So this like year of all of a sudden being super full-time touring has definitely been really challenging. It's amazing most of the time, but there are definitely some weeks or like even weekends where I'm like, I just want to go home so badly. And there are times when I'm leaving home and I'm like, I just want to stay home so bad. But I mean, yeah, it's just like, it's something that I have to adjust to.
Yeah. It's a difficult one when you're somebody that likes to be at home.
And I like schedule. I like waking up, going to Pilates, making lunch. Like I feel like when I'm home, my life is so like scheduled. And being a DJ, a touring DJ, is like the most chaotic. Like anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Like you're like missing your alarm, you're whatever. Like it's just like chaos.
Yeah.
It's really hard to be structured when you're touring. And so I find I'm a Virgo. Like I'm just a structured person. Like I like everything to be structured. And so DJing has forced me out of my comfort zone like big time. And
which is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. It's just I'm learning to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm learning to appreciate the like really, really good aspects of it and not get so stressed out about like the things that throw me off.
Yeah, 100%. I think another like really interesting factor about this as well is it's not just that your schedule changes and you know you're doing something you didn't think you were going to do, but also you have a team around you. Like working, you know, like having management or Lydia of PR. It's like all of a sudden going from working with yourself to all of a sudden having to like share ideas and thoughts on your schedule with other people.
Yeah.
How did you find that transition?
I mean, I'm actually really thankful to have like Lydia and Abby because I like, if I'm not like sat at home literally writing things down in like an agenda, I forget everything. So I need people to be like, hey, do this. Hey, do this. Can you do this right now? Otherwise, like if I'm traveling or
they're laughing.
No, I need it because I'm just like, it literally will be in my brain 1 second and then out of my brain the next second and disappears.
I am exactly the same. I literally have the worst memory ever. Like I can't even tell you what I had for my breakfast this morning.
Yeah, if I'm a bit scrambled, it's game over.
Yeah.
You know, like if my day is awry in any way, I'm just like can't remember anything. Won't get anything done.
I'm the same. When you're on the roads, do you still try and keep like a routine? You said you like to do Pilates. Do you like still trying to like have a routine of
It's
workouts?
impossible.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because I don't know anyone that has, so I really want to know if anyone has.
You know what? I pack my Pilates clothes every time I leave my house, and I have not one time have I made it to a Pilates class. I've even booked a class, and it's just not possible. It's no.
And it's just like, because especially if you're like come from Chicago, it's, you know, it's time differences as well. It's, you know, feeling tired. It's not like you've just come from Spain.
Yeah, exactly. It's like everything is, there's just no way. It's crazy. And yeah, like staying up really late at night, DJing when I'm used to going to bed at 9 p.m. You know what I mean? Like when I'm home, I'm in bed at 9 p.m. And when I'm DJing, I'm up until 4 a.m. And then I have to get on a plane at 10 a.m. Yeah. And it's just like the idea of going and working out, like,
it's like a no.
I'm just like eating
You just
Cheetos.
dance in the club anyway. So it's kind of like you get your steps in, you know?
Pretty much. That's what I tell myself.
Are you super, super happy with where you are right now?
I am, yeah. I feel like I don't often have the time to really sit and like think about how far I've come and like how great things are. And when I do have those moments and sit and think about like, oh my God, I did so many things in the last 3 months that I never thought I'd do in a million years.
Yeah.
And like when you have those moments and you're like, holy shit, like things are amazing. And like you have to like take a step back sometimes and realize like how great everything is. Because when you're like in the thick of it and you're like traveling and like exhausted and like you've one dodgy gig and all this, it kind of gets easy to get into like sort of I don't know, like just a negative like headspace or like doubting yourself. And sometimes you have to like stop and think about all of like your achievements and all of like the accomplishments and like really appreciate it, because there's a lot of amazing stuff going on.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I think that's also kind of like social media comments, that you could have so many lovely social media messages and then you have one person and one troll that will say something and then it just totally throws you off. Like you're like, oh my God, questioning everything.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. I would say like most times you see those things and you're just like whatever, but like even today I literally told my manager I'm like exhausted. Someone wrote something on my Instagram today, like this like snarky message, and I literally like my blood just started boiling. Yeah. And I was like, it made me so mad. I like read it to my husband and he's like, whatever. I'm like, no, it's not whatever.
Yeah.
Like this MFer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like people can be so rude and sometimes it does get to you.
I know. And it's so annoying because it can just be like that one thing, but then there'll be a billion positive messages, but that one sticks in our head.
And you ignore all the nice ones. Yeah. And the one mean one, you're like thinking about it for the next like week, like am I really whatever?
Yeah I know. What do you think has been the most challenging part of your career so far?
I honestly think just getting over self-doubt has been the most difficult thing for me. I feel like I'm my biggest critic, and I always have been my whole life, but like especially now that I'm working in an art related industry, like there's more of like a emotional attachment to what I'm doing with my work, like because it's like it's a bit more vulnerable when you're like making art. And so there are times where I like really convince myself that I'm really shit and I like can't get out of that, and I like rot. Yeah, and so I think that's been the most challenging thing, is just sort of like owning it a bit and just being like, no, you're not shit, like it's you actually have something to offer. And like you know,
when you get into that headspace, what do you do to try and get out of it? Like, do you have a certain exercise, or is there a certain routine or something you do to try and stop that?
I usually, like, when I get into that headspace, I stop working on music and I stop like listening to dance music. I just like take a couple of days and like do other non-music related things that I really enjoy. Like what? Go outside. Yeah. Go for walks. Like go sit in the park. Go out to dinner. Like obviously I do Pilates a lot. Like that's something I have to do. But I read. Like just like disconnect from the dance music world completely, and then come back to it a couple days later when I'm in a different headspace, and then you start listening to the things you've been working on and you're like, okay, actually this is sick. Like, why was I being so negative?
Yeah. I think it's definitely an industry and definitely a space where so much is happening and everything is so fast paced that it's so easy just to get caught up with just like how many things are happening at the same time.
Yeah, and I think it's also really easy to like start comparing yourself to other people, and like I feel like the dance music like landscape in general is like changing so much, and like people's taste in music, the music that's like gaining popularity, like everything, there's so many trends that are constantly evolving. And I feel like something that I sort of struggle with is like wondering if I should be leaning into these trends or not leaning into these trends. And then sometimes I catch myself trying to lean into these trends and making music that's super disingenuous. And then that's when I start getting mad at myself, because I'm like, I hate this thing I'm making, but it's because I'm making it for other people.
And not for yourself.
And not for myself. Yeah. So I think that that's definitely like a difficult thing.
Yeah. You kind of fall into a trap. If like, because everyone else is doing it, you feel like that's something you have to do as well.
And because you see online like everyone is hyping up this like type of thing, you're like, oh, I want that. Like, I want people to be hyping up something I make. So then you try and make something like that and it sounds like absolute shit.
But I think at the end of the day, stuff like that will just be like a short-term success.
Definitely.
Like, yeah, maybe you could ride that wave and you could be the best in like doing it, but then tomorrow maybe it's something else, and then you're back down here.
I know, something else will come around. That's why it's like you have to just make the music that you really, really love, and like that's it.
Yeah. And just be like totally true to what you want to do and what you want to create.
And like the music, I always, whenever I like start to get in these ruts, I talk to my husband about it, and he's like, would you listen to this in the club? Like when I'm working on something, he'll be like, if you heard this in a club, what would you think?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's really that simple, actually.
Yeah,
like,
just ask yourself that question.
Like, if this came on in the club, would I love this, or would I think, I don't like this? And so it's nice sometimes. My husband's like quite simple in that way. He just puts things into perspective in a really nice way.
Do you know, that's really interesting, because I think that is actually something you could apply to anything in arts. Like, even I was just, as you were saying that, I was thinking about a certain podcasts or people that get pitched to be on the podcast, and I think to myself, would I enjoy like talking to that person?
Would I enjoy listening to what that person has to say? You know, it's that simple.
Yeah, it's super simple, but sometimes we just complicate things.
Big time.
Tell me about Cosimea.
So back to Dirty Disco.
Yeah.
Dirty Disco was my first baby. Like, started that out of COVID, did it for a couple of years. And then recently, well, I guess it was probably about 6 months ago or now, there is this collective based out of Texas that reached out, and they had been previously using the name Dirty Disco for something they were doing. And they asked if they could have the name back. I own the trademark to the name, but they asked if they could have it. And I had sort of started feeling like there was a disconnect between like my Azzecca project and Dirty Disco in terms of like sound and vibe. Like, I think Dirty Disco started to be a little bit confusing to people because I don't play disco at all.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? This is a good opportunity to sort of rethink this whole thing and come up with something that feels like a bit more aligned with my personal like music project. So I'm really into sort of like cosmic-y sounds. That's the thing that I really love. And I'm also obsessed with aliens, like anything outer space, like UFOs, aliens, love it all. So I wanted to create this world that didn't exist already. And that's where I came up with Cosimea. It's like a word based on the cosmos, but I just changed it up to like make up a completely different name. And yeah, so it is right now just an event series where I'm going to book artists that are doing things that I think are really pushing dance music forward, like really authentic and fresh sounding music. And yeah, artists that I just feel really passionately about that I can book for these parties. And then hopefully eventually it'll be a record label as well.
That's so nice. So really it's like supporting upcoming talent and like finding emerging artists.
Yeah, and people that I really feel like are doing something new and unique and bringing something like fresh to the industry.
Is the event series going to be in Chicago or?
So we did our first one in Chicago. There's this big music festival in Chicago called ARC. We did an ARC after party. That was the launch of Cosimea, and it was at this legendary club, Smart Bar in Chicago. It's where like Derek Carter has his residency. It's sort of like a really, really iconic house music club. So that was amazing. And now we're looking to do it in other cities. We're going to start touring it, and it'll sort of be like an Azzecca +1 party.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so we'll take it to different cities and book a special guest to play with me. And yeah.
I've heard so much about ARC Festival, but never been. Is it really amazing?
It is a really good festival. Like, you know, there's a lot of commercial festivals in the US, and like people always talk about how it's a lot of recycled lineups. Like you'll see the same people on every lineup. And I think what's cool about ARC is that they really like put in the effort to find, well, to book artists that one aren't playing everywhere else, and two sort of like pay tribute to like house music, because Chicago's where house music started. So like there's always like the people who are from Chicago that play. We have Derek Carter, Green Velvet, Honey Dijon, like they play every year. And then we also have people like Hiroko, and this year they had Marshall Jefferson, which is you know, one of the founders of house music. So I think that's what sets ARC apart. And it's also just a really cool small festival in the heart of Chicago. And yeah, I love it. I'm biased, but I love it.
Yeah, it's like one of those that are on my list. So there's just so many festivals to get around and so many events that it's just impossible to get to.
And
there's
also so many festivals in like the UK and Europe.
Oh, I know. It's
that
ridiculous.
You can just like hop over to.
Do you have a favorite UK festival?
I mean, I love Glastonbury.
Yeah, Glastonbury's the best.
It's an incredible, incredible festival. However, I went to Deckmantle for the first time this year, and that was probably my favorite festival experience ever.
Wow, that's a statement.
It is just being able to like ride a bike from like central Amsterdam to the festival through the parks, and it's like stunning.
Yeah.
And then you like park your bike and go rave until 11 p.m. and then you ride your bike back and it's over. I'm like
that's why you like it.
I'm like, this is perfect. I'm in bed by midnight.
I can get up and do my Pilates in the morning.
Exactly. But the music was just really, really cool. You know, it was like a bunch of music that you'll never really hear in America.
Yeah.
Like music that I really love that I don't get the chance to like hear very often. So yeah, I loved it.
Do you often still get to go out and party without actually DJing?
No. No, never.
Yeah.
Because I'm like touring every weekend. So it's really hard to find the time to like go out. I actually think next year I'm going to try and take off one weekend a month, just because I do think it's really important to go out and hear music, even like for inspirational purposes.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I need to be able to go out and hear what other people are playing and what crowds are reacting to, and like get inspired for the studio, because when I'm just playing my own music all the time, it's like I don't know what to make, because I don't know what other people are making. You know what I mean?
And I guess as well, doing that, taking that weekend off, it's like it's kind of just like putting everything to one side, kind of go in with a fresh mind, listen to other artists, and then you come back with a bunch of ideas.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good plan.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
So I have some quick fire questions for you.
Cool.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
Some people hate them, but you're going to do it anyway.
We'll see how I do. My brain's firing at like 10% today, but we'll see.
Okay, right. If someone wrote a book on your life, what would the book be called?
My Animals and Other Animals. No, we literally just saw a sign at the Tube, and my husband was like, if you wrote a book, that would be the title.
Are you
like,
joking?
Like 20 minutes ago.
No way.
And it was literally called My Animals and Other Animals.
I was thinking, because you just said to me, oh, you were super tired. I was like, oh, maybe that's quite a hard one to ask, because she's going to have to think about it. And you were like, bosh, I know it. I love that. I was going to say to you, you've definitely thought of that one before. You can come in. Hello. Okay, if you could have any other job in the world for a week, what would it be?
A barista.
A barista.
Yeah, I would love to just like make really like a a good barista, like in a really cute coffee shop. And then you're done work at like 3.
Yeah,
and that's it.
that's perfect.
You make some coffee for a few hours and then you leave.
I'm really starting to understand like what your days are like going to bed early, finishing work early.
Yeah, I'm a grandma actually.
Okay, if your life had a theme song, what would it be?
This one's hard.
This is a hard one.
If my life
Disco. No.
had I'm just a girl, by no doubt.
Perfect.
I'm just a girl.
I love that. Perfect answer. Okay. What is the weirdest food that you've ever tried?
Oh my God, I try so much weird food.
Have you?
I love weird food. The weirdest thing though, probably like testicles. I think I've had what is it like
I wasn't expecting
cow's testicles, I think so, I had testicles one time. I forget where I was, but I don't think I even knew it was balls. Like I didn't know it was some farm animal's testicles. I can't remember.
Nice. Lovely. I think that definitely wins like that the answer to that question. Have you ever had any nicknames?
Bull's testicles. It was a bull's testicle. That's what it was.
Well, that was your nickname.
Wait, what was the question?
I go, have you ever had any nicknames? Bull's testicles.
Okay, let's go with that.
Bull's testicles, everybody. If you could design a new emoji, what would it look like?
Okay, I've actually thought about this. It would be a cat with its tongue out with a little tab of acid on its tongue.
Great.
That would be
Perfect.
great,
Why doesn't
right?
that exist?
That would be iconic.
That would be amazing. Why haven't they done that already? Who is your favorite person to play back to back with?
I really love playing with my husband.
Nice.
Yeah, we have like a really fun back to back, and I can like basically tell him when I don't want him to play something, and he'll listen to me.
That sounds like the perfect relationship, to be fair. And finally, because this podcast is called Can You Put Me on Guest List, do you have a guest list rule?
A guest list rule. I guess just don't be a dick. If you're on my guest list, you can't be a dick.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's rule number 1, to be fair.
Just don't be a dick.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You got a busy week. You've got a release out on Friday.
Yeah.
Who's that girl? Digital?
Yeah.
Exciting.
Super excited for that one. It's been like in the works for a long time. So yeah.
Oh, exciting times. Well, this podcast will actually be out after that. So Friday is what day is Friday?
The 11th.
The 11th. So it's out now.
Yeah, go listen to it.
Go and listen to it.
Who's that girl?
Who's that girl? Thank you so much. It's been so lovely to chat
Thanks
with
for
you.
having me.
And enjoy your dishum.
Oh, can't wait.